Alright YouTube, this is part 2 of the video, continuing on with my collection. Right here, this is Bulbophyllum frostii. This is a recent acquisition. I can't remember where I got it from. Maybe Wade. But anyhow, frostii is found in Vietnam, in evergreen lowland forests, at moderate altitudes. It is a cool growing epiphyte. And it does have those elliptical pseudobulbs that never get to be any bigger than that, and does have a few flowered inflorescence with it has apical umbels of fragrant flowers. Really nice orchid to have. It is a miniature, so I'm very happy to have that. Right below this is a newly mounted, newly acquired, I believe it's still a seedling. It is attached to one of my wine cork mounts that I made. This is BC Punakia Lee. I forget offhand what the cross is, but I'm sure there's some Nodosa there. Won't talk too much about that. Right next to here is my sad-looking Neophonetia falcata, species of orchid found in China, Korea, and Japan, commonly known as the samurai orchid. This plant usually sits here during the winter time because it does get, as I said, cooler, drier conditions over here. This summer was pretty rough on this plant. It was outside. I had to move it around several places until it was able to not be either in a too hot of a location or too sunny of a location. This is what was lost from this summer's torture, I guess you want to say. This used to be a very full plant, bloomed every year without fail with several spikes. Did get some spikes, but the spikes never progressed to blooms. They just dried up. So I'm not sure what's going on with this plant. I probably will clean it up, clean all these dead parts off, and repot it into something else. That's my otherwise known as a foot-on orchid. It's my Neophonetia. It's probably a Vanda falcata, I guess, if you want to be correct. Right next to this is my Dendrobium thriciflorum, I'm sorry. And this orchid right here basically gets its growths in the spring from the base. Then the growths elongate until they get to be very tall. This plant can get to be 2 feet tall at least. This is just a baby. As I pointed out in a previous video, the newest growth on this plant was basically eaten by crickets and failed to progress beyond this. The last year's growth was pretty substantial. I'm still hoping for blooms. I'm not going to kind of ditch this plant now and get another one. I'm just going to stick with this and see what it does. Thriciflorum is found in the Chinese Himalayas, in moderate altitudes and humid, mossy, mixed forests there. They do like it to be on the drier side in the wintertime, as I've said. So that is how I'm going to grow this. Won't begin to water it or fertilize it until I see new growth. Behind that is my other division off of my LC Sierra Skies Leone, which the big plant, the main plant is down there, which I talked about in my first video, so I won't talk about that anymore. Right here is a new, well, it's not a new plant. I've had this for a couple of years. I got this at Hauserman's. This is the Bulldog Paphiopedilum. This is Red Day times Lady Margaret Thatcher, and it's very fleshy, glossy, yellow and deep orange, brown in the lip. didn't bloom for me this year, but again, like I said, it's a recent repot. Right here, this is I got this at the spring orchid shows somewhere. I got this from Nats. This was just some bare root oncidiums, actually Wilsonara to be specific. And I've got a little new growth on here. There were actually 3 of these plants in this one pot, and this is the only one that remains now. So I'm not going to cry too much about it, because as I've said many times, I don't do well with oncidiums. So I should be grateful that, you know, there is a new growth right here. It just recently was moved out from where I keep my seedlings in a shadier location. Hasn't been fertilized yet, and so we'll see how it does. Right behind here is the cockle shell orchid, Cochleatum. This, you know, this plant has upside down octopus-looking flowers with these peculiar oblong, ovoid, eggshell-shaped pseudobulbs. The one that I have is currently in spike, as you can, or not in spike, it's in sheath, as you can see. These originate from Florida, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, down there in South America. Long inflorescence that emerges from the sheath. That's the state of that one. This stayed outside all year in the summer and got its, this is the newest growth. I did get a sheath, as I said. This right here is a recent acquisition. This just actually finished blooming. This is my BC Carnival, what is that? Carnival Kids Green Gem. Got this from Diamond Orchids. This is basically a cross between Brassivola nodosa and Cattleya dowiana. So you can imagine it does have that yellow, not yellow, but lilac, pink, thick substance, sea lip with green Brassivola petals. Very pretty thing, not fragrant. Right next to that is my Galeandra Bowery, and I just love this plant right here. I've actually become obsessed with Galeandra. I'm sorry, what did I call it? Well, anyway, it's Galeandra. This is the latest growth, and you can see the inflorescence is a sequential, but it's not in bloom now. But anyhow, this is basically grown like a catasetum. The new growth emerges in the spring after a winter's rest, and you know, the spike emerges from the top of the pseudobulb. Galeandra is a warm to cool growing epiphyte. It is found in trees, basically in pine forests, in pretty much low altitudes. They are found in Colombia, Bolivia, Peru. Really love this plant. If I can find a flower, I will post it. Did bloom for me, did get a couple flowers. Very nice little miniature. Doesn't get any much bigger than that. Right here in front of this is my little seedling of a Dendrobium aberrans times eximium. This is a Laturia seedling. It did have a hard summer. I'm just kind of nursing it back into health. Hopefully it will do it. And right here is a Brassia. This is Edvarlu. See if I can get the tag for you. Yeah, it's right there. I believe I bought this at an auction. Was out of bloom, but it does have a couple of new growths on it that are pretty healthy. So this is a nice plant. Edvarlu is a primary hybrid between Brassia longissima and Brassia girondiana. I'm saying that wrong. Does have those long sprays of spider-like flowers that we all love. Back over here, this is a division off of a plant that I got as a division from, I believe that Marble UK, Marble something. It was a box of Brassivolas that I got. This is actually Delicatum, and I had another piece of it that fell off of the main plant that's potted up further down in the greenhouse. But this is a piece that I mounted off on a piece of Osmunda tree fern fiber, and it has taken to it's taken to it somewhat, the fiber, tree fern, and it did have these two new growths. They're shorter than obviously, but as I said, it was a bare root division. Delicatum was once regarded as a pure species in the Dendrobium alliance, but it is now accepted as a natural hybrid between Kingianum and Dendrobium tarberi, which is also known as speciosum. So, like those two plants, you water, fertilizer a lot in spring and summer with the onset of the new growth, and then in the fall and winter you give it pretty much a dry rest from water and fertilizer until it either flowers or produces some new growth from the base. My other one that's down there, which hopefully it'll still be, but it is in spike on several canes, so hopefully it will still be that way in my my video once I get to that section of the greenhouse. Anyhow, I will move right on down here. I didn't catch this lower shelf, but down here I have a couple of Erias. I'll start with this one right here. This is Eria floribunda. This one for me, actually both of these are native to Thailand and Vietnam and Malaysia, some spots in Borneo. They do produce their growth in the spring and the summer, which is their growing season, but they do like to be watered year-round. My floribunda has just it bloomed for me late in the season, late in summer, I'm sorry, and it does have some growths in the bottom. It is planted in sphagnum moss. The flowers are produced, or I'm sorry, the inflorescence are produced from the node near the top of the pseudobulb, the new pseudobulb, and the flowers are fragrant. They were white as well, small flowers. This coronaria, the flowers are a little bit bigger. There is a spike on this one, and this plant, I don't know if I can show you, but each of these, yeah, that is a sheath right there. That dark spot right there is a sheath, as well as you can kind of see it down in there, and down in there, that's a sheath. And from the sheath emerges an inflorescent with these flowers will become maybe about a half of an inch, and they do nod in the wind, and they are fragrant. It's my Eria coronaria floribunda. And in front of this plant is my Dendrobium Hodgkinsonii, and as you can see, there's a spike on it. So that's a good thing. Hodgkinsonii is a Laturia Dendrobium, and does like it in warm to intermediate conditions, moderate amount of sun. Hodgkinsonii's flowers resemble the flowers of Eximium, and there's another Laturia that the name escapes me. Almost in the same vein as, not as wacky as Spectabile, but it does have the sword looking flowers, sword lip, yellow chartreuse flowers with a little bit of spotting. Okay, next down here, some of these plants were, a couple of these plants like this Cattleya right here that is really kind of recovering. Actually the next two are kind of recovering. This is, and I can't tell you what the flower looks like, but this is LC Starting Point times Memorial Robert Strait. But these are plants that are either they were given to me as rescues, or they were just given to me and they declined in my care. This one right here is a BLC Lois Smith Gold. I couldn't tell you, but they are recovering, and I won't go much into that. I'm just sort of leaving them there. There is a few new growths on both of them, but they aren't doing much. Behind there is my Biphonaria Tyrianthina. These are basically a Brazilian plant that are in moderate altitudes. They do require a cool winter dry rest. The new growths are usually formed from the newest pseudobulbs. I'm not going to reach back there and turn it around, but there is a new growth, very small growth that is coming up. I have watered this. I have not been giving this a cool. Well, it does get a cool, but I haven't been giving it a complete dry rest. Actually, yeah, there's the growth right there. You can see it right there. Very small. So I don't know if it's supposed to be doing that now or not, but so this is I got this earlier last year, well, earlier this year I should say, and I'm not really sure what I should do with this plant, but I'm watering it infrequently, not as much as it was getting this summer, but we'll see. Back over there is a cross. Let me see if I can read the tag. This is LC Aussie Sunset. There is a new growth right there. This is a beautiful flower, and the newest growth, which is right here, has a sheath in it. Beautiful flower. It did bloom for me I bought it in bloom at a show last year. I believe it was Missouri. I believe I got that plant. I know I did. I got that plant at Windy Hill Garden. I'm not even wasn't even going to mention this nursery because I wanted to sort of keep it to myself because they have some very, very nice plants. They very unusual plants, very healthy plants, and they're on the cheap. But that is where I got that Aussie Sunset back there. And anyhow, check them out if you are looking for nice bulbos and some Cattleya crosses. Anyhow, right in front of this is another, speaking of Bulbophyllum, this is a Bulbophyllum echinolabium. I'll pull it out here. We all know echinolabium. This is the first one that I got, but it's not yet blooming size. And you can see there's a new growth right there. I believe I got this from Bill Tom's. And in front of that one, mounted on that piece of Osmunda, is my Bulbophyllum ambrosia. Bulbophyllum ambrosia is found in certain provinces in China and also Hong Kong and Vietnam, in semi-deciduous forests, low altitudes, and also on limestone cliffs and mossy rocks. It does get a inflorescence that has supposedly has sweetly fragrant flowers, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Been told that flowers resemble honey, so we shall see if it ever does anything. Back up to this. Totally skipped what's next here. Anyhow, these are some plants that I have just obtained. Got these from Windy Hill Gardens. This is Bulbophyllum Adorable Bunyin, which is a cross between, I'm sorry, that's not what this is. This came out of this plant. This is Bunyin, which is a cross between Echinolabium times Boom Bryson. Both this is a cross made by Windy Hill Garden right there from Missouri. This has already bloomed, but there is a new growth right there. Still looking nice. It's just recently repotted. To the left of this plant is actually Bulbophyllum Frank Smith. Sorry. Recent repot. As I said, I just recently got these plants. That. And here is my Stars and Stripes. No, this is Melting Point, I'm sorry. Doris Dukes times Longissimum. And I will post a flower of this because this just finished blooming. Let me go up here, high up here. I'll just kind of group all of these plants together since they're pretty similar growing plants. These are my, this is Dendrobium lategesii, and this is Dendrobium pierardii. This is just a division off of another pierardii that I had, not this pierardii. I've had this one for several years, really on this same mound. I probably should take it off of this mound, but it continues to bloom. Sorry for the light, it's kind of pointing up at the sky, but you can see the leaves are turning brown. This is actually the first time that these plants have gone into dormancy before they bloom. They usually put out the buds and then you lose their leaves, but now looks like they're doing it, and it is December, week before Christmas here. Very cold out today. It's probably only about 8 degrees outside. Very windy. But anyhow, this is pierardii. Pretty much all of these plants, pierardii or a phylum, all of these plants pretty much come from China, eastern slopes of the Himalayas, Malaysia. Anyhow, they like it very wet with the onset of new growth and heavily fertilized, and then in the fall and winter basically just left alone. Occasionally misted if the pseudobulbs look like they're shriveling up. The flowers on my lategesii, which are very small, but they are pink with a yellow lip. Maybe I'll post a picture if I have them. I'm sure I do, of both of them together, so I don't have to really describe the flower. Everybody knows. And pierardii or a phylum gets their flowers along the nodes of the leafless canes. And right here is perhaps my oldest plant in my collection. This is my Cattleya Walkeriana variety alba. I got this at Hauserman's. I know it had to be mid-90s before I moved to Seattle. So anyhow, Walkeriana is the only Cattleya other than nobilar that produces its inflorescence from the base instead of the top of the cane, like mostly all other Cattleyas do. The flower is extremely big for the size of the plant. Perhaps some of these flowers can be 2 to 3 inches. You can see how small the plant is. I'm not saying that this is a blooming size plant, but it's not too far off from blooming size. These plants are miniatures, which is why they are so desirable to have in your collection. As I said, the flower is very big as opposed to the size of the plant, and fragrant. This one is the albiform. Species is lilac, soft lilac. This is an alba. Anyhow, that's pretty much the video, and hope you enjoyed it. Sorry I don't have anything blooming to focus on, but I'll just go down there and look forward to doing part 3. Thanks for watching.